3,000-year-old records studied, DC 1929. Fighting red-headed Indian tribe denoted by 10,000 well-preserved specimens from Nevada mountain cave, an extinct race, while Europe was still a wilderness, created with strange powers, able to leap into the air and seize arrows. Berkeley, California, April 1st. Preserved for 3,000 years under debris in a bat-infested Nevada mountain cave, the records of an extinct race are being studied by the University of California anthropologists. 10,000 specimens recovered from the grotto in a remarkable state of preservation are now regarded as chronicles of a fighting, red-headed tribe of American Indians who were exterminated while Europe was still a wilderness. The cavern is known as the Lovelock Cave, a shelf-like niche in the hillside formed thousands of years ago by the wave action of an ancient lake. This is where we're at. Similar concepts to what we were just discussing with the man hunting by the lake. And we'll have another article after this that will further prove what I think was going on. The vanished body of water is known to geologists as Lake La Hontan. And we'll get into big lakes and pyramids as we get farther along here as well. Cave near Lovelock, Nevada. The cave is about 22 miles southwest of Lovelock, Nevada. The people who inhabited it are vaguely mentioned in Paiute Indian legends as cannibalistic savages, devoid of fear, who were annihilated in a 3-year war with the Paiutes about 1000 BC. Mentioned in the Paiute legends as the Saiduka, or the Tule Eaters. So I chased a lot of this stuff many years ago, and the cannibalistic stuff it seemed to have been a misrepresentation or mistranslation, and that they found that these people were actually predominantly vegetarian, but they did hunt wild game, and they were practitioners of magic. They could they had special powers, according to the Paiute. According to legend, they were able to leap into the air, seize arrows that were shot at them, and turn them back at their attackers. They were exterminated, it is believed, in a fierce charge against the cave by the enemy. This ties in really nicely with my Emperor Tigrinus, the timeline, him being the Tesian warrior. He was a gigantic warrior who leaped through the air with his 2 giant stone battle axes. I think we're dealing with the same people, similar to the footprints we were just talking about there in Carson, Nevada, suddenly wiped out. It is thought that the hidden extermination may account for the preservation of so many possessions of the ancient people. The relics have been kept by the dry Nevada climate and are in a state of perfection comparable with that of the relics found in Egypt and Peru. Among the objects discovered, some of them buried under 14 feet of debris, so that 14 feet of debris was also bat guano. This was called the Bat Cave, and we're going to get into that one next. Material and debris, tactile material, including basketry. Remember, Emperor Tigrinus was what they called the basket tribe, or the basket makers, and his tribe was related again with the red-headed mummies of Utah, who they called the basket makers, and put in a similar timeline. And matting, wooden implements, weapons, and sandals, just like we discussed earlier with the Carson footprints. Professor A.L. Kroeber of the University of California declared the material almost wholly pre-Caucasian, having a resemblance of the native culture of California in historical times. Now, what is that? Again, you go back far enough in California and you start to touch on Atlantean stuff, just like the Emperor Tigrinus stuff. He termed it immensely valuable because of the richness of the whole series of objects discovered. Again, that's 300-year-old record study, fighting red-headed Indian tribe denoted by 10,000 well-preserved specimens from a Nevada mountain cave. Here's the image. I type in a section, a clipping from it, And here the quote Indians, the AI generated in the fire they started at the mouth of the cave. And from here, we're going to hop into what they actually uncovered in the cave, okay? Secures valuable curio from Indians craftsman, Nevada, 1912. This is the same cave where they found the giant redheads that were mummified. Okay, these were mummies. They were preserved not only under the debris, but also from the bat guano. Tona V, thanks for being here. So Dr. Lee adds treasure to his collection. Other material discovered. Dr. Lee, who has without doubt the finest collection of Indian relics on the coast and who never overlooks a chance to add a treasure, has just come into possession of what is considered one of his best specimens. It is a fish line with about a dozen hooks, not the silk line of the white man or the steel hook, but hemp, a fishing line made of hemp, really important, of wonderful finances and spin, and hooks made from sharp bone of some winged bird, probably the wild duck or goose. Every hook is practically the same, neatly and substantially made, and with it a number of extra points in case one should break. While the operator was fishing the line, the hooks are distributed evenly and look like business. The line and hooks came from the Bat Cave, the same cave we were just talking about with the giants. Okay, so these are relics that were found. The 10,000 relics. Here's a list of them. Lovelock, where filled with bat guano. This fertilizer was dug out and shipped to the coast, where it has been sold at a great profit. In the excavation, many valuable and antique Indian relics were found. They mostly now decorate museums over the world. The relics have been declared to be at least 500 years old. Yeah, far older. Their wonderful preservation is accounted for from the fact that they were buried under the dry deposit, guano, which practically sealed them from the air. This was the case in the fish line. During the excavation, other wonderfully made relics were uncovered. Several decoy ducks were unearthed in perfect state of preservation. They were teal and had been skinned and the skins tanned. The frame had been stuffed with tule fiber. Remember, they were called the tule eaters. Had been stuffed with tule fiber and was so cleverly done that the birds looked as natural if mounted by a modern taxidermist. The decoys have been secured by the Smithsonian. Several fish nets have been unearthed, a number of pieces of pottery and other trappings used to the day far removed, but all showing an even finer craftsmanship than practiced by the Indians of the past generations, for several as far as that is concerned. Several generations. Right. That's what we keep saying. You know, you know, the whole Aboriginal and Native American and all of these things. They like all the rest of us stand on the shoulders of giants and buried 2, 3, 4 layers of past civilization. This bat cave has undoubtedly furnished more real articles of value to the relic hunters and museums than any discovery for many years. Those interested in this research have made many inquiries, and specimens are scattered far and wide. That's the unfortunate thing. It just takes me back again to that article from the governor and the marshal from Colorado pleading with the U.S. government to stop these Smithsonian agents from stealing everything, tearing these buildings down, stealing mummies, and shipping them to Europe. That's what this article is saying, too. They've all just been scattered everywhere. Dr. Lee has his fish line displayed and looks upon it as one of the finest specimens now in his possession. His collection of arrow points and baskets is a treat to anyone who appreciates the art that is lost and is probably the most carefully selected and complete of any in the world. This just reminds me of Indiana Jones, Indiana dealing with all these curio hunters, the people that had deep pockets and, you know, just, yeah, fantastic. So, what do we cover in these? We're dealing with giant redheaded men that were annihilated by the Paiute Indians. They knew they were growing hemp. They were creating fish lines and fish nets out of hemp. They created decoy ducks, and like in that previous article about the footprints near the lake shore, and the gentleman that had the two sticks and what they believed to be some kind of tent covering, canopy covering, I believe that was a blind. He was hunting by the water. The elephant got stuck. He rapidly ran to the elephant, killed the elephant, dragged it back to camp. There were several other footprints involved. His foot was 18 inches. They believed him to be 10 feet tall. I believe these are all the same tribes.